What's up, people? There's a very strange long weasel in the chat. Have you ever had a lucid dream? Maybe semi-lucid on a couple of occasions. Very rare. Very rare. Okay. This was an obvious thing that I put in just to test. So let's get rid of that. Entity name is not a floating point number. All right, well, that's a drag. See if we've narrowed down the cases in which this happens enough that we could consistently break on it. Why is this so slow? I don't have... Wait, it didn't happen there. How come it didn't happen here? Oh, are we no jobs? Is that what's going on? We are no jobs. Problem is, I think this is going to pop up in a different place every time. Yep. All right, so let me make sure that the code I put in is running, which it probably isn't. So, all right. It's an operator expression. Whoa. Hold on. That's why it didn't work. Oh wait, wrong file. Okay. So using. Okay, that's fine then. That's an operator expression. Now we know it's not running because I left a printf in there. 181. So entity flag. Oh, right. Okay. Try this. Try this. It depends. Did I manage to compress the talk? Well, it's not done yet. I'm still, still working on it. It's, I'm working on it uncharacteristically early. Usually I work on it once I get to the place and decide what I'm going to say. And this time I went advanced. Oh, okay, right. That's what happens when I change the names of member variables. I don't know them. What do I think about certain claims that certain psychedelic drugs can make one more creative when programming or doing creative work? I don't know. I've never evaluated those claims. Are assignments expressions? No. Well, in terms of the syntax tree they are, but in terms of your ability to nest them, no. Look, we're depending. Hey, that's good news. We managed to compile. Look at that. Look at that, people. We did it. Maybe we gotta try this on some other things. Oh my God, this is still, so I didn't say what we're doing at the beginning, but this is still the finishing of that refactoring of using to use this scope entry system that got added, and it broke a lot of things, but the benefit should be that the code is clearer, easier to understand, less tricky going into the future. I accidentally had a backslash on the line. And I wanted to try to finish this before I left, because it's been forever that I've been working on this, because I started working on it and then stopped for a while. And maybe we're actually going to manage that. If we can make sure it works during this stream, we'll check it in. And that'll make me happy. I mean, it appears to work. Right? Why am I not typing into the console? Oh. We changed how we do this. All right. So then I think this makes this. Guys, how am I supposed to run the tests? Why is it building subversion dynamically linked? Doesn't make any sense. Let's see if maybe someone fixed this. If you don't let me run the tests, I can't test. I'm sending an email called "What happens when I try to run test.exe?" Well, I can probably hack this by copying the lib manually. It's like one of the tests for some reason is linked against a C library that's dynamically linked against Subversion. It's like you can't win. You go through all this effort to make an ecosystem where that doesn't happen, and somebody links a C library that does it anyway. It's like terrible. Okay, which library does it want? libsvn.dll. I don't... There we go. This whole DLL thing is fucking poison. Okay, somebody's server program system time. That doesn't, I don't think that's a thing. There's get system, oh, system time. That's only a thing in Unix. That's there. Oh wait, no, we have that. That may be a problem that we need to debug. It's not worse than the problems we're trying to fix by doing all this anyway, so we might check it in anyway, but okay, that's a problem. Let's see if that happens consistently. I guess not. Didn't it already happen? Okay. So we still have, I was hoping this would go away magically, but sometimes in the cases of imports, we have a spurious thing that doesn't work. And that's actually true in the system before. It's still true. So I'm going to have to debug that in some way. But I don't think I don't know if this is recompiling things or rebuilding things. I think it's reinvoking the compiler. Yep. We did solve that problem 50 years ago with static linking. It is true. That's in fact, if I don't cut it from my talk, I will be mentioning that fact in the talk. Shared libraries is merely memory optimization. Well, the people who argue vehemently in favor of shared libraries will say that there's a security issue or even just a general code robustness issue because you can update your shared library once. But that's actually not true if people package their own shared libraries, which they do all the time anyway. And you could build a facility to do that for static libraries just fine anyway. So it doesn't make sense, honestly. None of it makes sense. All right, well, okay, so the edits that we're doing are not integrated with the most recent version of the compiler, so I just updated that. It looks like there aren't any super big changes, but let's just do a clean build. It's been so long since we've checked these changes in that, like, it is a scary check-in just for that reason. Like, I don't even know how long it's been. We're going to take out this thing that we did and then decided it wasn't the right way to do it. All right. Shared libraries are fine on Linux. No, they are not. They're one of the reasons why you can't actually distribute precompiled software on Linux. All right. So as long as you base everything around shared libraries, right, like that, nobody will be able to sell and support software on the operating system. That's just how that works. We can't support software if we don't know what it is. Did my opinion on Rust borrow checker introducing more friction change in any way since the ECS video comment? No. No, that's literally the last time I seriously thought about Rust. It's the most recent thoughts that I have about it. I mean, if you want to go try it, go try it. You know, it's just my opinion, man. You can distribute your own software statically linked. There's nothing preventing it. Yes, there is. You obviously have not tried that if you're going to make that statement. Yes, there is. That's why people do this Flatpak stuff. Static linking is great for small software. No, it's great for big software. Small software, you don't need to care because you're not doing that much. It's big software that you need static linking for. What are the disadvantages of static linking? Well, like I said, people will say the security reason. But I don't think that's that true in practice. And if you decided that that was important, there are other ways to do it with static libraries. So it's seriously, it's not a reason. The real problem is just institutional inertia around the way things are set up right now. These days, one can use musl libc on Linux that 100% supports static linking. Okay. You can't do that on an arbitrary Linux system. You have to build a very special Linux system set up to allow you to link that way, right? You can't just like do that on an Ubuntu system. It's bananas. If you were using a professionally maintained crypto library where you really trusted them, you might want a shared lib so that gets updated automatically. I mean, yeah, like, okay, let me put it this way. Like, I don't want to constrain developer choice, right? Like, if you decide that for your program, you're in a situation, like Jackmot just said, where it's like, hey, somebody is providing over-the-air updates in a timely and secure and robust manner for this thing. I want to allow them to do that. I think that's fine. I mean, I still think you're maybe making more trade-offs than you think when you do that. But if a developer wants to do that individually, that's okay. But to have the entire core system that everything is built on work such that you don't know what libraries you're running, it's nuts. And you can tell it's nuts because software doesn't really work on that operating system. So what do you want? Wouldn't DLLs be less secure than static linking due to injections or else? I mean, it depends on how the library path is set up, right? gonna make a distro? No, I would never make a Linux distro. Well, I wouldn't say never, but it's, you know, the real thing you have to do is make a different operating system. That's just all. All right, well, I think I'm going to check this in. I mean, I kind of can't believe that this is working. I think we can do tests with the debug compiler. Let's do that to make sure that there's no asserts. Yeah, we do really need a new operating system. I agree. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do that right now, man. I just don't. I just don't. Okay. Well, it's a good thing we did that. Man, there's construction going on outside. Again, back to the way America can't frickin' do anything. There's been construction on this corner of my street for like a month. I can't really tell what they're doing except changing the sidewalk slightly. And they've been out there for a frickin' month. I don't even know what's going on. What are they even doing? Construction on streets takes years in Germany. Okay. It's intentional or international? Yeah. Like, I literally don't even know. I walk by there every day. I can't tell what they're actually doing. There's just some construction equipment and some guys. Yeah, I thought Germany was supposed to be efficient. What's the deal? They're dragging a fiber connection. Dude, it could be. I don't know. I'm going to try to figure it out today after the stream. Okay, this is going to make me fucking rage. This is not acceptable. So that's weird because this is an assertion that goes off. But it doesn't actually stop us from running, which is weird. Like, okay. Where are we? Line 305 of It's an operator overload. It's in do thing. It's just a regular procedure. So this isn't going to go off. So I don't understand what's going on because I don't see how this wouldn't crash. Like in release build, this is running. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just crashing and the frickin' test harness isn't telling me that. Well, let's just see. Let's investigate. Lambda. It's exited pipe patch. Why is its bytecode pointer? What? So pipe patch is after pipe build. Pipe build is where your bytecode pointer gets set. So like this is just very mysterious. Like, how did this thing get out of pipe build and not have its bytecode pointer set and not have us report an error? There might be just a debugging thing that's causing this problem because, again, it's not happening in release build, which is real weird. Real weird. Okay, we'll try breaking here. I feel like maybe we never even get here. We don't ever get there. It's a different number. Okay, fuck, dude. This is why this is not acceptable. The way things are set up. Like, I can't... If I can't compile these things individually... I can't actually debug... Like, they changed the way that the test system works, and it doesn't allow me to compile individual programs individually anymore. And it's just not okay. I don't know what to do about this. Yeah, other people on the team who were fuck. Okay, what am I supposed to do about this? I don't know how I'm supposed to debug this at this point. Well, let's actually make sure it's okay. I've been assuming. Let's not assume yet. Let's assume. Let's see if it's the same spot. No, it isn't. Okay. This also makes it impossible to debug, but for different reasons. It's also using a subscript operator. That's a clue. Oh, it's even the same code. That's a clue. That means it's not like a random thing. There's something about this code that is doing that. Dude, I don't know why everybody wants to make everything so hard. I just... All right. What do I do about this? I can't rewrite the test system before I get on the plane. Well, maybe I could. I can make a separate test program that has only this problem, debug that problem, and hope that that's, well, I can just do that for every single thing. So let's put this in a separate program. And we'll hope we can repro it. We can. Good. Okay. This could have been much worse. We're okay. We're okay. I didn't freak out. I just thought about it. And we're okay. All right, so yes, now I should actually be able to break on the thing. So it ends in 303. Let's do it again. It ends in 303. Good. Okay, so we can go back to that breakpoint we were trying to set. Set the condition. Set that. We don't even get there. That's valuable information. Okay. We're going to track this lambda through the entire pipeline. Lambda s is equal to that. Okay. We're going to set a data breakpoint on this. God, that construction noise, man. All right. All right, so we exited pipe infer, that's fine. We exited pipe size, that's fine. Pipe send messages, hold for messaging. Pipe builds, this is probably not fine. Okay. It expression type is asked lambda. Oh, right. That's why we didn't hit the breakpoint. Because lambda and lambda body are different now. They didn't used to be, but they are, wait. No, because we call that with the okay, the header, this is weird. The header should be depending on the body with a build dependency. Which means it shouldn't pass until the body passes. Let's just see. Okay, let's just see. Where's our body? Body is down here. Body is in infer pipe. So the header is past the build pipe. The body is not past the build pipe. Okay. This is starting to get scary again. We depend because okay. What's the exact problem? The exact problem is, like, where is this declaration? This is what I don't get. Wait. Oh, I see. Okay, this is queued. Okay, so the deal is this is not constant. This is a colon equals and not a colon. And that means it requires space on the stack, but it's also compiling in this kind of out of order way. That makes sense. But we shouldn't be doing that here, honestly, actually. So this fix that I was about to type It's actually not the right way to do it. What's really going on is, well, that's queued. We shouldn't be trying to stack allocate that at this time. If it's a declaration, good thing I stopped to think about that rather than just flailing. Okay. Okay. Debug compiler is a lot slower than release compiler. All right. Well, it looks like I get to get on the plane today after checking this in. Can't I still run the command version of the test where they run one by one? That's what I tried to do, and it didn't let me. But it's a new, like I might just not understand how to do it the right way because it's a new refactor of the test stuff. But I thought it was telling me that I can't run the tests individually. What do I think? I don't know what, you know, I had seen something about Zig. What do I think about it shipping with libc included? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't know enough about Zig. Do you mean actual libc, like the C library? And that it takes dependencies on libc? That doesn't sound good to me. Well, unless you mean the compiler itself and not, you're going to have to be way more specific about what you mean before I could say anything about that. Where am I heading? I am going to Russia, yes. Will the talk be on YouTube? Hopefully. Does the test utility allow me to mark checkboxes of which tests will run? Not that I know of. We're going to have a stream sometime where we speed up the debug compiler. Take out a few asserts or something. He rewrote the entire libc in Zig, so it doesn't need libc. Well, that's good. Okay. There is still a spurious problem, but I am starting to be convinced that we could check this in and continue work on that spurious problem. Okay. Now what the hell is going on? We just built Sokoban like 7 frickin' times. Bro! What is happening? Okay. Let's try that and see if we can build Sokoban. It's really weird. No. What did we just do? How? Weren't we just building this whole thing a lot of times? Placeholder for generate project was never filled. That means a static if never fired. OS get username never ran. Why not? What is happening? Can we build without that? Okay, I updated the stuff. I got to update the game. All right. Our error reporting needs to improve here because we reported these missing placeholders, but we didn't report this. All right. So basically what happened is in that last update, somebody moved this OS get username to the library, which is a totally reasonable thing to do. Because I updated the compiler and not the game, I still had the old one from the game and the new one from the compiler, and it didn't know which one to call. And then, you know, our error message thing wasn't good enough, so it didn't say that. And so now I've just updated again, and now we've got conflicts. So we have to merge that, and then hopefully we will work. Oh, right, because I just did this. I hope I didn't have any actual changes in there. Okay, crisis aborted. It all makes sense. We need to improve the error messaging. We knew that. Consequences. All right. We're going to build with release compiler LLVM, because that's the build that... Oh, we got to build a release version of the game and Benny test it. That's what we got to do. And then I'll be safe to get on the plane. Consequences. What do I think about the Godot engine? I don't think about it. I don't know anything about it. Why? Like, people assume that I know about everything. I don't. Sorry. I don't, I mean, like I make my own engines, or, our team makes our own engines rather, because it is a many person project. So, like, why would I have time to use every other engine that exists enough to give you an opinion on them? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. What do I think about quantum entanglement? I think it's pretty cool. I should check it out, definitely. Why? I'm busy making my own engines. Why would I check out other people's engines? That's just not... Like, look at all these things I have to do. I have to build a compiler. I have to build a game. I have to go give 3 speeches. I have to write my own operating system. I have to do all these things. Like, I have heard that the scripting language for the Godot engine is pretty terrible. Like, the very concept of a scripting engine today in the year, or a scripting language today in the year 2020 is a bad sign. Like, that's something that games gave up on in like 2005, for those of us who know what's going on. So, like, the fact that it still uses a scripting language to do things in 2020 is a bad sign. But the rest of the engine might be good. To be fair, I don't have to write the OS till tomorrow. Yeah, I'll just write the OS on the plane instead of preparing my speech. I'll get up. I won't really know what to say, but I'll say, hey, everybody, at least I made an operating system on the plane. It works great. There are people, once in a while when we go host people on Twitch, we see people doing Godot engine stuff. Not always, but sometimes. And so, if you're interested, you could just probably watch them do stuff. What? Dude, I don't have time to look at people's engines. Stop it. Stop bothering me. Jesus. What about Game Maker Studio for beginners? I think for beginners, anything is probably fine. It's just eventually you want to upgrade. Eventually. Yeah, scripting languages are not good. So here's the thing. This is what mainstream serious game developers discovered many years ago. We had this idea first, like, oh, let's put in scripting languages because, look, it'll improve your iteration time because you don't have to recompile the engine to make gameplay code changes. It'll enable non-serious programmers like your art team and stuff to do stuff on the levels. And that'll be really good. So what actually happens in reality is several things. First of all, your engine has to interface with the scripting language for everything you want people to be able to do. It has to provide all these hooks. Those are annoying and obnoxious, and they're very bug prone. And it causes a lot of programming time just to be able to add those hooks, first of all. Secondly, the scripting language itself inevitably ends up being slow, which you don't think matters at the beginning because you're like, oh, it's just gameplay code. There's not that much gameplay code. But first of all, it matters a lot more when the scripting language is, the slower the language is, which they're all really slow, the more it matters. And what very often happened, or most of the time happened, was that games realized that they needed to rewrite all their gameplay code back in C++ or whatever in order to be able to ship, especially on consoles, right? Third is that scripting languages don't tend to be very memory disciplined, so they tend to cause a lot of heap fragmentation and problems with the performance of the rest of the game outside that. Fourth is they tend to be very error prone, actually, right? Scripting languages have this seductive property where at the beginning it seems really easy because you just type some stuff and it works. The problem is that if you don't have like serious static type checking like you have in a language like C++, then once you start doing a non-trivial amount of stuff, it becomes very easy to make mistakes, and it becomes very hard to make mistakes, right? Or sorry, very hard to find the mistakes. Easy to make mistakes, hard to find mistakes, hard to debug, because you don't have a real debugger because it's a scripting language, okay? It can't share code with anything else because it's outside of the rest of your system. And then, what was the last thing? There was a last thing that was important. The last thing is that then we also discovered that the assumption that you want level designers writing simple code is really not very correct. Like, because they're not actual programmers by trade, so they will have a hard time doing anything that needs variables and whatever unless you make it very simple. And so you end up getting really poor quality code that's full of bugs that programmers have to audit and review anyway, right? So like this whole idea didn't pay off on almost any dimension. And so like mainstream games stopped using scripting languages a really long time ago. It was a failed experiment, okay? The fact that people still put scripting languages into new game engines doesn't make any sense. The one thing that's like scripting languages that works, that both Unreal and Unity migrated to, is this visual scripting kind of thing, like blueprints or whatever. That works because it's so constrained, and because it's easier for people to use, and because they're designed sort of using the lesson from the scripting language apocalypse that happened. But scripting language in the sense of like having Lua in your game or whatever is a disaster. Don't ever do it. It doesn't make sense. If scripting languages are bad, how do I think editors should get customized? This should get customized using real programming languages. Why do we assume that you shouldn't use a real programming language for things? It doesn't make sense. You want your language to be real because that's how you ensure your software is robust and doesn't have bugs. Like, that's one reason why I don't like Emacs. Like, I have to program in this frickin' stupid language in order to do anything in it. This slow, bug-prone, undebuggable programming language. No, script. I have too much experience to bother with that anymore. Have I seen the new Ken Thompson interview? I have not. What is it about? What about if you don't have something that compiles in a second? How can someone work efficient with C++ as game code if you have to wait an eternity for your... Well, if you have to wait an eternity, your system is probably not well designed, all right? So like on The Witness, I wrote all the gameplay code, or 99% of the gameplay code. And, you know, with an incremental build, it probably would take 15 seconds to build the game or something. With a non-incremental build, it probably took about 1 minute. So if it takes a really long time to build, then you need to put, I mean, it's sad that you need to do this, but you need to put more engineering effort into making your system build better, right? You shouldn't have to, I admit, but you do. Yeah, like if you're talking about waiting 15 minutes for your game to build every time you change the gameplay code, that is a disaster. There have been systems that are that bad, but you need to fix that if that's what you're dealing with. Let me put it this way. There's nothing about a language being a real programming language that necessitates slow compile times like that. All right, there are orthogonal issues. All right, well, we passed the Benny test. We're going to commit. Scary commit, restructuring using so that it's a scope entry. Unfortunately, there are still some spurious build failures due to import not completing. Will investigate. Guys, I'm so happy to be able to check this in. I may regret that in 10 minutes when the build machine starts yelling that everything's broken for some reason, but yeah. What are all these module changes that I did? Okay. Okay, comment. That was a big change. It was much bigger than I wanted it to be, but you got to do that sometimes. Got to do that. It's one more step in making the compiler simpler. We need a lot more steps because the compiler is too complicated, but we're working on it. We are working on it. Okay, so I've got to manage my to-do. Where is it? All right, so many things. We're going to have to go through this file. Update notes. Your school had the IBM 1130, so you had turnaround times of a few hours between program runs. But the other schools in the country had 3-day turnaround. Totally, dude. Like, yeah. Yeah, batch computing. But then the user needs to have a compiler installed or the editor needs to ship a full compiler. Both seem kind of annoying. What do you think a scripting language interpreter is? It's a compiler. It is just a compiler that doesn't compile all the way. If you can ship a scripting language interpreter, why can't you ship a compiler? How does that make any sense? It doesn't. The only reason it seems to make sense is because of other complications that we've convinced ourselves are necessary that are not necessary. Kernahan interviews him on how he joined Bell Labs and how Unix happened. He had 3 weeks of work to get an OS, 1 week each, assembler, editor, and kernel. Yeah, this is what I'm saying, though. Like, okay, so first of all, he probably was an unusually productive programmer, even for back then. But, like, that is not possible anymore, regardless of how productive you are, right? And that's just a problem. It's a problem. It's why software sucks so bad, because we've made it so crazy. We have made it so crazy to make things. Sure, but there is a difference between a C compiler and a Lisp interpreter in terms of complexity. Okay, but so what? I mean, your game is really complex. Your game is more complex than a compiler, probably. So I don't understand the objection. Like, yeah. Programmers aren't that productive these days, and the audience laughed. Yeah, but it's actually not funny, right? It's really not funny. I'll try to watch that. Wait, can you link me the speech or the interview? Dun, dun, dun. When do I leave? Well, this evening, but I've got to pack and all these things in the afternoon. All right.
Thank you. So, my name is Evan.
I will watch this later on. Thanks for the link. Sorry, you were talking about editors. If you look at Emacs, you want to avoid that complexity at all costs. Why? Emacs actually, see, so you're saying you want to avoid the complexity of having a full compiler in the system. It's not that much more complex than an interpreter, actually, especially if you're not trying to generate optimized output code, which you're probably not. So first of all, the amount of complexity in the program is not much higher. Secondly, however, it's actually a false trade-off because you get more complexity due to the fact that it's an interpreter as people try to use the language, right? Like, the fact that it's not as capable of a language and the fact that it's slow means that everyone who ever programs in it has to do all sorts of hacks that they wouldn't otherwise have to do. The fact that even it's a different language from what people normally use means that you add all kinds of complexity, right? And so you can't just look at what is the complexity going into the original source code of the editor and say that that's the trade-off. That's not the only source of complexity, right? Will I ever do a dance stream? Probably not. Probably not. So I kind of want to hang out a bit. Let me see if I've got an email yet. That thing's exploded. Windows Sokoban build fails. My point is that we should not require DLLs to be in my path or anyone's path. That is part of the whole point. I don't know who is dynamically linked to an SVN DLL. It might be a C library that is being used in someone's project, but we should not do that. Hacked it for now by manually copying the file, but we need to do something about this longer term. Okay. Look at all these spammy emails I'm getting. I mean, you can't see them because my email is in a different screen. Okay. Uh-oh. We got an already computed struct size, but didn't. I don't understand that. I don't get that problem. Like it literally says this is not building for them. For the build machine. Maybe it's using a wrong version of the compiler. Let me make a trivial change to Sokoban. Why did that go to Salvador? Is it because he did the last? No? Let me just see. Bump Sokoban to see if build was failing just because of wrong compiler version? Question mark. Oh, you know what we should do is we should revert this. There was this change slot power thing. Okay. Okay. We still have a bug. See, this was not checked in. Okay. Workaround for bug. Just making sure it compiles before I click the button. Release build. All right. Workaround for bug. So now let's debug the bug. And this is just probably, again, that when we have a using on a parameter, we're probably putting the dependency in the wrong place or something. We're probably depending the header. I don't know. Maybe we're just not. All right. Let's just see. Programmers aren't as efficient nowadays because the bar to start programming is way lower and Twitter, Facebook exists. Well, I think both of those things are true, but it's not anywhere near a complete explanation because productive programmers have to spend most of their time fighting through bullshit to get anything done. That's the real problem. Am I the only one working on Sokoban? No. No. Okay, this breakpoint we don't need. Should have already computed struct size, but didn't. Oh. Got to go back to compiling the right thing. Okay. So emit code for block entry. So we have a declaration. Ah. Dude, Visual Studio sucks. All right, let's get back there. All right, maybe now we can actually look at that variable. Undoable data. That's not surprising. I don't think, wait. What? Line 267 of Entity Manager. Wait, really? Line 1647. Okay, this makes sense. Okay, I understand that. We're emitting code for the block of this procedure. Easy. We have statements. Oh, we're emitting code for entry into the block. Or something. We're doing something. We're allocating stack space for all the block members. This is why I'm confused, because are we like not skipping import links or something? It's like this declaration is in entity. This is a target of the using. Okay? We should not be visiting this at all right now. That seems like a pretty big mistake to have left. I'm amazed that the program compiles with that in there. I am literally shocked. Whoops. Like, I don't even know. Whoops, not release build. Debug. I don't understand how that could be the only problem in both all of Sokoban and all the tests. That's crazy. Am I just going to visit Moscow, or do I have plans for visiting some other cities? I don't have enough time except just to go to Moscow, and I can't really change my mind about that because they're very strict in giving Americans tourist visas for specific amounts of time. So I'm only allowed to be there right now during the time that I pre-announced. So I can't like extend the trip, unfortunately. Boy, using the debug compiler to make a release executable sure takes a long time. I shouldn't have done that. All right. Okay, but we appear to be doing okay. Let's try the release compiler. Dude, that's crazy. And that doesn't really have to do with the thing that we just did. That's been in there a long time. Dude. I don't understand. I guess that's why it's been in there a long time, because nobody triggered a problem. All right, well. Fix a bug about allocating stack space for too many declarations. Oh my God, so much extra stack space, actually, I'm sure. Wow, okay. Okay. And let's just clean up this routine, because how many more landmines do I think are in the compiler code? A lot. That's why I'm working hard on simplifying it, because I guarantee you there's lots of weird stuff that's wrong. Guaranteed. How does communication work between game entities? How about, that's a very general question that I don't know how to answer. How about if you ask me a more specific thing, like what's an example of a specific thing that would happen with regard to the gameplay, and I can tell you how I do that in reality. It's beach season. The Linux build uses OpenGL right now. We may change that eventually. Did I just leave the version without using? Yeah, I mean, it was useful there because it triggered that bug, but putting a using for that function is just goofy and spurious. Like, it probably used to be a much more complicated function. For now, it just like, it doesn't seem like a place to put a using. Do you have early speed comparisons? No, we're not working on performance at all right now. I don't even know, like, what the design of the language is such that in principle, there shouldn't be any reason for it to be slow, aside from aliasing concerns, which we just haven't worked on yet. But like, it's just, again, it's one thing at a time. It's a big language with a lot of features. We're making the features work, then we'll work on speed. What should the Linux version be using? Probably Vulkan, probably not GL. Even though Vulkan is very sad, it's less sad than GL at this point. I don't know. Yeah, way less sad than GL because GL just has driver bugs all the time. You can't really guarantee that your game is going to display right on somebody's system. So that's a problem. If you want to ship something that works, that's a problem. Doing Vulkan and then end up emulating OpenGL structures because then you got to do things from scratch. Well, you say that's but at least you're in control of what your program does at that point, right? Try shipping a game and then it doesn't work on some cards because NVIDIA decided to do something weird that they won't tell you what it is and that you don't have any fucking power to fix. And meanwhile, people are complaining about your game on Steam and calling you a bad developer because of something a summer intern at NVIDIA did, and you just have to sit there and keep emailing them and begging them to fix it. Yeah, try living through that and then tell me, all right? And then multiply that by 3 once for each GPU vendor. And then you know what the life of a game developer is like. It's not really throwing shade. It's just like, I just wish to communicate the extreme amount of agony I have been put through on these situations on multiple games. It's not just a problem that happened on one game. There was a time when Braid was crashing for all AMD users on Steam because of a random update that AMD pushed. Wasn't even really a driver bug in the sense we've been talking about, but it was a thing their driver was doing that was definitely causing the game to crash, that they would not tell me what it was. And I had to frickin' figure it out. I had a very miserable weekend that was supposed to be during a vacation and was supposed to be during a time when I was working on The Witness, which was a stressful development already. I needed a break. I couldn't get a break because Braid was suddenly mysteriously crashing on everybody's machine who had an AMD card for no reason. It's like, fuck everybody who set up this entire technical situation that we're in, where you can't ship software without a random summer intern that you weren't thinking about at all breaking your code because they don't care. It's really not fun, guys, when this happens. It is really not fun. What's the alternative? The alternative is my game should say how to render, just like it always was back when software worked. Precision about communication. If two entities collide and some others totally separated entities need to get the information, how would you do it? Well, okay. So if there's a collision between two entities, again, this is a case where this is not an object-oriented thing. So neither entity should own the fact that it collided with somebody else. That's just a property of the system, of what's happening. And so if you need a facility where people in general can ask who collided with who, which I'm not sure that you really need that, but if you do, then what you would do is you would have the collision system generate a per frame output report that these particular pairs of entities collided at this time. Maybe here's the magnitude of the collision response. You might be using that to generate sound effects, right? Like here's what material impacted each other on each side. But that would just be an array of collision responses that gets updated every frame. It wouldn't be anything complicated, and it wouldn't have anything to do with entities, really. It would be independent of the entity system in the sense that you could change the entities completely, and these other data structures wouldn't change. Don't blame the summer intern, blame the guy who let that code into production. Yeah, maybe. Maybe, man. The worst thing about that AMD situation is they could have told me what the problem was. They knew what the problem was. They could have emailed me one sentence to tell me what to do. I could have had a fix up on Steam in 10 minutes, okay? Instead, I had to spend a long time trying to figure out what the hell was going on. It sucked. It was so bad. I kind of hate AMD for that now. Like, it'll be a long time before I ever allow myself to have a positive opinion of AMD anymore. Am I saying that the entities just hold state? No, I'm saying that there's a thing in your game called the collision system. The collision system detects collisions between entities, and then it outputs information about what it detected. The information is not on the entities. Was it a bug in the driver update? I'll tell you actually what it was, because they made me fucking fix it. Okay, so when I was developing Braid, I put in a floating point control mode thing that said, if we ever divide by 0, crash the program, right? Because I wanted to make sure that I never divided by 0 and stuff, right? So I do that at startup, right? There was a division by 0 in the AMD driver, right? Floating point division by 0 somewhere. Most games don't set up that floating point control word, right? So most games weren't crashing, even though the driver was probably dividing by 0 for everybody. Braid was crashing because we had this thing turned on. They wouldn't tell me the problem. So all I knew was like the driver is crashing for my game somewhere for some reason. And I hadn't thought about the fact that I turned on this floating point control word because it was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe even longer. Wait, because the game, I did that in the game in like 2005. And I was working on The Witness in like 2000, let's say 2013. It was like 8 years later, right? And I just had a hard time. Like if I had realized, put all the clues together, I could have found it faster, but I just had a hard time trying to figure out the problem, and it was ruining my vacation, which made me very frustrated. Why didn't they tell me? I think because they're just secretive about it, and they don't want to be embarrassed about their bugs, right? Is that kind of bug common on console? It's a lot less common on console than PC. Yeah, so they're basically, at driver initialization time, they were dividing by 0. So I fixed it by turning off my divide by 0 detection. But yeah, it was bad. I hate AMD after that. I don't hate many things, but man, they made me really mad. How long did resolving it actually take? Probably like a day. Just because it was one of those debugging sessions where you're just frustrated and trying random things. Like, I was like, maybe it's the way I resize my window on startup. Maybe I'm picking a weird pixel format that the driver is, like, I was just literally just doing random things trying to make the game not crash. And then I remembered that I don't even I guess I was just stepping through because I knew it happened early in the program. I was looking at what I do early in the program, and eventually I was like, oh yeah, wait, Windows doesn't crash by default if you floating divide by zero. That's something I turned on. Like, I had to actually remember that, right? And then I was like, oh, maybe most games just don't do that. Maybe the driver's wrong for everybody. It's just most games don't cause the crash. It took a while to figure this out. Do I have any AMD product now? No, I don't. All right, let's see if this is compiling better. Build passing. Let's see, Sokoban. Build passing. Okay, that's good news. Yeah, it might be time for me to start packing to go to Russia and like doing my laundry and stuff. I literally, I wanted to get this done before I go, and I also wanted to get closure for it on stream because, we'd worked on this for several streams without getting back to a working compiler. So now we're back to a working compiler. It still needs a lot of simplifications to happen. In fact, the series of scope entry changes is not yet done. Like, I was turning a bunch of things into scope entry in order to make the code more understandable, and we haven't finished that. There's still a few things like static if needs to be changed to scope entry, etc. But maybe I'll do that during the trip. Shorts and flip-flop weather. Last I checked, the weather in Moscow is like 60 to 70 degrees, which is exactly, or in Fahrenheit degrees, which is exactly what it is in San Francisco these days. So I don't think it'll be any difference. Can the build time get faster? Yes, it can get a lot faster. Can you watch a video of the talk later? I think so. The conference has said yes, so I have hopes. If I had any serious thoughts about a new OS, not super serious. Can I stream from Moscow? Maybe. Like, I guess that depends on how good the internet is at the hotel. For people who want to know about the conference, yeah, somebody just linked the conference there, and you can scroll through the speaker list or whatever to see. I didn't say too much about what the speech is, but it is there. How long am I in Russian for? Like 5 days. Will Putin be there? I don't think so. I doubt that he goes to game development conferences. I mean, I might be wrong about that. That's just my opinion. Will Snowden be there? I also doubt it. Will The Rock be there? Will Madonna be there? I don't think any of those people will be there. I can't tell you how relieved I am to have this checked in. I'm still waiting for other people on the team to start compiling things and it explodes in their face today. But if that happens, we'll fix it. Wow, okay, this is good. So for future compiler streams, I would guess that when it comes to programming stuff, I want to be sort of splitting evenly between time working on the game and time working on the compiler for a while. For a while, I wasn't really doing compiler stuff at all, but we've got a backlog of things I want to do on the compiler, so we're probably going to split time evenly. I'm going to spend more time simplifying stuff, and then I'm going to slowly progress on the new features in the language as well, because it's time to do that. What did I check in this time? This is the first successful compiler check-in on the namespace structure changeover in like a month and a half or however long it's been. Will I give the talk in Russian? No, I don't know Russian. I am not Clint Eastwood. I cannot think in Russian. Let's find out if there's somebody we can host. Does anyone even know what I'm talking about when I refer to Clint Eastwood thinking in Russian, or is that too old of a reference? Was it Clint Eastwood or was it someone else? I think it was Clint Eastwood. Yeah. That movie, that was a big movie in the 80s, and if you go watch it now, it's so bad, dude. It's so bad. I mean, it's still probably better than an Avengers movie, but it's so bad. Okay. Science and technology. The way they animated the planes dogfighting was ridiculous. Okay. Who have we got? What looks good? Siege games again. We could do that. Oh, we haven't done Jessica Mack in a long time. That's a possibility. Always entertaining, highly visual stream. There just needs to be a programming channel, first of all, so we can get all the weed and virtual assistant stuff off. And gerbils. Just why isn't there a programming channel? This doesn't make any sense. All right, we'll go here. Dude, what version of Visual Studio is that?
If that makes you feel any better, you're getting a medium enjoyment of code and great activity on number 4.
It looks old. Maybe it's just like not the dark theme and it's new. I don't know. All right. Thanks everyone for coming by, and I'll see you later. I doubt we'll do any more game dev streams from the United States today. So it'll just depend on if I have time during the I'm traveling for probably a little over 2 weeks. So when I have time during traveling, then I will do something. 2007 or 2008. Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone. See ya.